Hello and welcome to the MyClayCo studio. My name is Carla and today we are going to do a fun little project with polymer clay and paper clips. Now the paper clips that I'm going to be using today are our large format paper clips that we stock on our website, but this can be done with any paper clips. So rummage through those stationery drawers and let's get going. Okay, so I already have my clay rolled out. So I've got it at about 2 millimeters thick to 2.5. It's burnished to my tile, so I rolled it so that it wasn't going to go anywhere when I use my cutter. The cutter I have today is our Petal arch cutter, which I think is going to go great with our paper clip. So as I said, this is a large format paper clip. It's much bigger than your standard one that you can buy. We stock these on our website, but you can use any paper clip today, as long as your cutter or whatever clay piece you're putting on top will be able to fit on that paper clip. So as you can see with the Petal arch, I want it to sit just underneath where these two metal bits come up. So I just check, and this Petal arch means, see there, it means that it's going to be fully encased in clay. I'm not going to have any bits poking out there, so I want to make sure that it's sat right up at that point. Okay, so to get started, I'm just going to cut out 2 pieces using my Petal arch. Okay, so I have both of my Petal arches cut out. The reason I've done 2 is because I'm actually going to be embedding the paper clip in the center of these 2 shapes. So if you were to do something like a duck, you would either need to have an unpatterned back of the duck and use the same cutter to create a base and also the top, or you would need to have a mirrored set so that you could put them together. These ones are mirrored anyway, so they're going to be identical on the front and on the back. So all I'm going to do is pick up my petals, and I just want to make sure that I'm tidying up any of those edges just to make it easier for us combining them. So as you can see here, I'm just using a combination of my finger and a tissue blade just to make sure that I'm smoothing out those edges. We are going to smooth them again when we put them together, but this is just to make sure that we've got a clean start for when we combine them. So you can see here now I have both of my cleaned up Petal arches. I'm going to grab my paper clip and I'm just going to make sure that the right side is facing up. So obviously you want to check that that's where your paper clip goes onto your paper. So we want the clay up here. So all I'm going to be doing is flipping over one of my pieces, and I'm going to be laying down my paper clip on top of it. Just making sure that I'm nice and lined up where I want it to be. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my other piece of polymer clay, and I'm going to sit that one directly on top. I'm just going to press lightly in just to combine them. You can actually use your roller or an acrylic clay press just to press them in. And then I pick it up again. So now that I've got it embedded in my paper clip where I want it to be, obviously the edges don't look very nice. So all I'm going to be doing is, again, using my fingers to smooth out the clay. So the best way to smooth out clay on the edges is, most people do it this way when they first start. You actually want to drag your clay across the seam. So you'll see here, if I just quickly drag it across, you can see that seam disappears when I start dragging it, and then you can smooth it over. So all you have to do is systematically go around, drag those pieces, and I'll show you another little trick after we've done that just to make sure that it is really nice and smooth. Okay, I'm now at the point where I'm pretty happy with those seams. They're pretty seamed up. However, I do have it just in the center here. And I want to make sure that I'm cleaning in this spot too. It can be a little bit difficult to get in with your finger or a tissue blade. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a quick trick that you can do just to smooth out edges and imperfections. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some clay softener and a little cotton tip. So I'm going to put a little bit of clay softener off to the side and just dab the top of my cotton tip in it, and all you have to do is just run it along the edges, and it will actually help smooth out any imperfections, and it will also help combine those seams. As you can see, my paperclip now has completely smooth sides and on the inside there too. And that one is ready to bake. Okay, while that one's baking, I'm just going to do a quick experiment just to see if I rolled my clay out thicker, can I slice into it with a craft blade and then insert it so I have less seams? So I'm just going to test it out. It is going to be more difficult with an imprint cutter because I don't want it to get stuck in my imprint. Oh. I'm doing the multi-cut method. Okay. So as you can see, that's quite thick clay that I'm using. So I'm just going to see if I get a craft blade and cut it, how that would work. Okay, so I've got my paper clip. I'm just going to see if I was to have it about there. So I'll just make an indent, and then I'll see if I can just cut in a little bit with this craft blade. Okay, I've sliced in a bit with that one. I'm now going to see if I can fit my paper clip in there. It does somewhat work. It is very difficult. We will still need to seal that bottom bit, but I do actually think, oh, I didn't quite tear that, but it tore up the back. So I think that might take a bit of trial and error to try and get right. Might need to actually have even thicker clay. Let's see. Okay, I'm back. I have clay at 0.5 centimetre thick. So it's quite thick clay. We're going to try and do this again. I'm just experimenting for you guys so that you don't have to. And I thought if you were thinking, I wonder if I could do it this way, this is what I'm here for. I'm going to test it. Okay, I managed to get it through. That's the first step. Okay, this is the hard part. So unlike last time, I'm actually going to try and open this up as much as I can. Before sliding this one in. Okay, I think that's as far as I need to go to embed it. Just want to make sure that it's even. Okay, now let's try and seal it. Okay, so I've got that one. I think I've done a pretty good job sealing underneath. So now I'm just going to lift it up, see what we're working with. Okay. So obviously we haven't had to seal all around here and it looks really nice. The back won't look as pretty because it's not going to be imprinted on both sides like with the other method. But I don't actually think that's too bad. Obviously this wouldn't work with every kind of cutter. So it would be a little bit of trial and error for you, but second attempt, I think that worked pretty well. Okay, and this last method I'm going to show you is probably the easiest out of the three, but it's not just polymer clay. What we're going to do is we're going to bake our polymer clay piece and then pop our paperclip on the back and do a UV resin dome to hold that paperclip in place. So this is going to be the easiest way to do it, but it does mean that you need to have and know how to use UV resin. It also means that you're just going to have a slightly different looking back. It's not going to be fully embedded. So I'm going to bake this one in the oven as well, and then we'll come back and finish all three of them. So as you can see, my paper clips are all out of the oven. This first one I did where I fully embedded it and cleaned up the sides doesn't really need any finishing whatsoever. That one is good to go because we pre-did the seams at the very start. The second one, which I'm actually so pleasantly surprised with how that actually worked out, slicing a pocket to actually embed. I'm going to call that one pocket embedding. Yeah, it actually worked out really great. I didn't have to seam this or move it as much, but as you can see on the back, obviously this one looks pretty either side, whereas this one is a little bit plain on the back, but you could do something on the back, or you could even try, once you've flipped it over and it's fully embedded, you could try and at least put some of the imprint in there. This one is a little bit of a trial and error, have some experimenting. I've worked out that you can actually do it, so that's at least a positive thing. The last one that I have here is just my plain piece. So what we're going to do now is just put some UV resin on the back. Okay, so I've got my baked clay piece here. So I'm just going to flip it over. As you can see, I'm wearing my gloves because I'm going to be working with UV resin. Now, I rolled this as 3 millimeters thick at the beginning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take our 3 millimeter depth guides. I'm actually just going to sit that one here so that when I put my paper clip down to UV resin dome it, it's actually going to sit flush. So if you don't have a depth guide, just roll out another scrap piece of clay to the same depth so that you can put a scrap piece of clay here just to hold your paper clip up. So I've just finished my UV resin paperclip. As you can see, they all look the same from the front, but when I flip this one over, it's actually got a UV resin dome on the back holding that paperclip in, which is a really nice clean look. But if you don't use UV resin, you still have the other two methods with just polymer clay. We hope that you enjoyed the video today and you had fun creating with polymer clay and paper clips. If you did make this creation, don't forget to tag us on socials. We love seeing creations out in the wild. You'll find us Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Just tag at MyClayCo and we'll take a look. If you did enjoy the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.